Welcome back to the 11th week of O Shift. This is 11, not 2. Scooter decided that it's more fun to have fun than not have fun, so he's off having Friendsgiving this week while I'm stuck here with you. But I'm so thankful for you. And to show you how thankful I am, we're going to give you a double header this week. Again, this is 2, this is 11. One today and one tomorrow. Filled with things we're thankful for and shit we're not, like being here by myself. The Emancipation Declaration was signed this week as Dodge announces it will end the Charger and Challenger by 2024. To freedom. Acura finally revealed the new Integra and reminded us that they have no idea what they're doing. How does the Honda Civic look better than its luxury big bro? It's like having that little brother that grows up big enough to whoop your ass and does it over and over again. It's not making sense, girl. BMW teased the new XM, and aside from it being electric, we've already seen this. A face we would really like to see go away. A 710 horsepower Dodge Durango was given non-compliant emissions as if somehow no one was going to notice a Dodge Durango walking in with 710 horsepower. Hyundai's Uber 1980s EV Resto mod was done so well that you could smell the cigarette butts from here. The Audi Lincoln Zephyr has made its comeback in China. The new Corvette Z06 will be the fastest Corvette of all time with a 0 to 60 of 2.6 seconds and a quarter mile in 10.6. Imagine doing that and seeing the most boring person on earth still fly past you in a Tesla. Model S. People, journalists, finally got their hands on the new M240i. And I can't wait to do the same. In its RS form, the new GT4 will finally get its big bros, the GTS's, engine with 493 horsepower and 331 pounds-feet of torque. This is the perfect Porsche to buy as soon as Porsche dealerships stop charging an extra Porsche in markups. No, really, why does the car cost $150,000 and then you charge another $150,000 for the markup? What? This is a part where I get to be annoying and tell y'all to like our video and subscribe so we could keep sending you more of this fun stuff about cars. Get ready for one of the most unique cars we've had on here in a while. What are you thankful for? Is it beachfronts? Is it open roads? Is it the invention of pistons? Or is it the fact that you could take any car and make it whatever you want? Good. We are too. And this week, we're gonna take a look at that and so much more with the cars that we're thankful for. E. Ari Lennox's favorite letter, and ours when it ends with 30. E30. BMW created this little compact thing to replace their outgoing 3 Series, the E21, and in the process stole our hearts. I'd really like it back. Thanks. In the meantime, we get to stare at 30 years of heritage spread across a variety of body types. Coupes, sedans, wagons, and even a truck, along with 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder options. It was such a great base that it remained hardly unchanged during its 12 years in production. Of course, it got a mid-cycle refresh, a soon-to-be staple of BMW and car makers alike. Outside of that, what could you want to change back then? Maybe make the rear end a little wider, maybe a spoiler, maybe more power, maybe we're seeing the origin story for the M3. And maybe today, we're seeing the entry point for Robert's E30. Because yeah, it's a 325 on the outside, but inside, whew. Let's start with that S52. It has an M3 motor inside of it. And beyond that, it has an M50 manifold, OBD1 conversion, RK tunes, Castrol Motorsports cold air intake, custom exhaust with sports muffler, Mishimoto radiator, ZF transmission, oh my god, a ZF transmission, ZHP 712 steering rack, M3 control arms and bushings, M3 clutch, short shift kit, Gargastic strut brace, Gargastic 80A poly mounts, Porsche 994 ATE brake booster. And let's close the hood and take a look around the rest of the car, where you'll find a Euro bumper conversion, IS side skirts, IS balance lip, M-Tech 1 spoiler, Shadowline trim, Euro grills, Euro smoked headlights, smoke turn signals, red taillights, Euro plate filler, and hella headlight caps. And all that is sitting a little bit lower thanks to ground control suspension coilover, sitting perfectly on BBS RS, 16 by 8.5 in the front and 9.5 in the rear, on top of Yokohama 205 45 R16, Federal 215 40 R16s in the rear. Wow. All right, and come inside, take a look. You got Recaro Speed Vs, Gargastic Recaro seat adapters, suede black headliner, M-Tech stitch seat belts, M-Tech 2 steering wheel, ZHP M shift knob, Condor M-Tech shift and brake boots, Euro clock, map light rear view mirror, Sky Pass rear seats, Motorsport floor mats, VDO BMW head unit, and Element 50 fire extinguisher, which is seat mounted. Oh, and we could also take a look at the walnut wood trunk lining in Yakima roof rack. Well, looks like today we're in for a ride.
Earlier we talked about the E46 and why we're so thankful for that car, but it wouldn't sit right with me if we didn't talk about the girl that started it all, the E30. All of these sports sedans and luxury two-doors that are running the streets with power have one car to thank. The success of the E30 actually helped BMW get out of a rut and helped them go on to make some of the most memorable vehicles that have ever touched the asphalt. And we certainly aren't ever going to forget this car. A lot of E30s have been done up, but none quite like Robert's. Robert, my man, you have done an amazing job here, but I'm going to let you tell me about this car. What makes this E30 so unique?
Thank you. There's a lot of E30s out there, and, on the outside, this thing seems clean and simple, but it's a little bit of a Frankenstein, taking the best out of, the E30 generation, the E36 generation, the E46 generation, and obviously some, aftermarket parts as well. I think pulling in power from the, M3 out of an E36, the steering rack out of E46 for a tighter, lock-to-lock ratio, going with period correct, and tasteful aftermarket parts. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun to drive.
It sounds fun, it feels fun. Like, I got jealous when I was driving my car and you were tailing a bit behind. I was like, please, just let me get in there for a little bit. But once you're in here, it grabs you right away. When did you pick up this Buick?
I've had this for about a year and a half now.
Oh, sweet, so fairly recent. So a lot of the mods might have already been done when you picked it up?
Yeah, the previous owner did some tasteful mods, including the S52 swap.
And I'm guessing you had your eyes on the E30 for a while, because this is a particular car to want. You don't just hop into an E30, especially one done up like this, without having a little bit of knowledge about the car.
Yeah, I've been into E30s for quite a while now. I picked up my first one in 2008, and I'm on my 6th E30. And the previous owner had done a lot of stuff that I would want to do myself. I think over the years, you know, I've really carved out my my aesthetic preference and, you know, preference for certain modifications. And, you know, the previous owner had done a lot of mods and restorations that I would have liked to have done myself, and has proved to be a pretty good starting point for the vision that I want to achieve with this particular vehicle.
It's like a catch-22, because you want to experience doing these things yourself, but it's so great when you can pick up a car and you're like, hey, that's all checked off the list. Now I can go above and beyond with the next things.
Exactly my thought.
And when I look at this car, one of the things I notice is that you have the facelifted version. What made you go with that over the original?
I've had a lot of E30s over the years, and they've all been pre-models, right? The early model E30s with the diving board bumpers. And I've always appreciated the, you know, the clean, smooth look of the late model, you know, bumpers. I think BMW really perfected their aesthetic, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s.
That's like really when they struck their groove. Like everything's changed since then. I really think that was the point where they figured it all out and cemented so many things. You were saying that this is your first late phase E30, so I'm guessing you had another one before this?
Yeah, I've had two 89s and two 87s.
I'm guessing either one were this color.
3 of them were this color.
Like you can't escape this color. It is so beautiful to look at. But I think BMW personally makes some of the best reds. BMW, Ferrari, and Porsche make like the most gorgeous reds in my opinion. Like it just sits right. And there's a thing about BMW, they always make their paints a little bit unique. So if you tend to mess up some of these paints and you try to go somewhere else, there's a good chance they can't paint match things. And you have to go right back to BMW. But again, that's one of BMW's tricks and tactics, because you have to go back to them for almost everything. And this showstopper is definitely one of the older ones. But how do you feel about the new BMWs? Bunny teeth and all.
You know, I gotta say I'm not really a big fan. I think I appreciate them trying to pay some homage to the classic BMWs of the 60s and 70s, and that was a really clean look, but it just don't look right on the moderns. Not feeling it.
It sits so big there and takes away from the car. I get this is like your beacon, your symbol, but the majority of my time shouldn't be spent staring at this one thing and trying to figure out how can I fix it. Like, that's not a good thing for a car. Everything else looks great. Everything else about the styling is good, but it's just this one part, and that's the face. That's the unfortunate thing. This is the mud. That's what I'm going to see in my rear view window mirrors, you know, like pulling up on me.
When you think about BMWs too, their face is what makes them so iconic.
It's literally that. So you could have at least given us a pretty face to look at. Like the crazy thing for me is that what they did with like the new M3s, people are going more to the M340i because they like how the face looks on that. Eventually, these companies, and I've seen a couple renders, they're going to come out with these conversions and things like that, but we shouldn't have to do that. Like you shouldn't have to go and correct something that should have been done right from the very beginning. And it's one of those unfortunate things. I think BMW has done so well over the years with having like avant-garde styling or things that go against the grain that we just have to bite it. Like the 7 Series when it came out, what was that, 2002? That 7 Series that had the truck that had this situation where it curved into, when it hit everybody, it's the 7 Series right after the James Bond 7 Series. People were in uproar about that car, like disgusted, but it grew on them. And it happened with like almost all the cars, the 5 Series, you name it. And I think it's done so well for them that it's almost like this, I don't want to call it an arrogant stance, but it's like, hey, we're just going to push forward with this thing. And with anything else, eventually it's going to grow on you. But like, we shouldn't have to settle for the second best. Like, you guys are supposed to be the ultimate driving machine. Like, yeah, that applies to, engineering and dynamics, but I should also kind of want to do a double take when I get out the car and look back at it, But I can only do that if the car is parked facing forward. What, and I ask this question to everybody, if there was one thing you could change from the factory about this car to make it the perfect E30, what is that one thing that would have been done?
I mean, not much, really, you know. I think, especially with the late model E30s, they really perfected, you know, this generation. Obviously, as technology improves, you know, there's some modifications that can be made that make it a more ideal, you know, ride. I think something that comes to mind, you know, is the 712 steering rack for a, you know, tighter lock-to-lock ratio. Really simple upgrade that makes a pretty significant, you know, change in overall feel and performance. Other than that, I love these cars, you know. E30s, BMW did them right.
How can you not? Honestly, everybody could see my nails on here, but you haven't seen Robert's hands. He has the sickest driving gloves on right now. Can you lift those up? Look at those. How sick are those? I don't think I take myself seriously as a driver anymore because I'm just, you know, raw dogging it here on my steering wheel, getting all this nasty, disgusting grease. We've been sweating like that would have been on my steering wheel right now, but Robert is protected. He gets to go home with peace of mind because he had the right kind of gloves on.
Not to mention the fact I get to look like Ryan Gosling from the movie Driver, which is definitely what the aesthetic was going for.
Definitely that. Now we just need to get you a 9mm with a with a silencer on it. What's one thing you would recommend to somebody stepping into the E30 world? Because again, this is becoming a trend. A lot of people want to get their hands on E30s. Is there any advice that you would give to somebody, you know, that is testing the waters out?
I would say just be prepared for a project, and, you know, these things aren't cheap anymore. If you're trying to break into the E30 game now, you know, it's not like it was 10 years ago when you can cop a clean E30 for a couple grand. You know, if you're going to try and get into an E30, you're going to have to spend some money just to get a project. You know, and for those folks out there that have one already, you know, keep it on the road. You know, these things are classic, and, you know, I absolutely love seeing another E30 on the road when I drive.
We all do, but that's such an important thing that everybody has to remember. You are still getting a BMW at the end of the day, so don't look at this as a cheap project car. If you want to work your way up to that, do so, but just be prepared that there's a lot of love and care and things that you have to finesse with this car to get it to, you know, meet those drivability standards. Or even still, like, there's unforeseen things that are going to happen, but just be prepared to take care of those things. Understand that this car was made 30 years ago. Things are going to break, they're going to crack, they're going to, you know, slip out of place, and just set yourself up for success with that. That would be my recommendation. But again, I don't have an E30. I'm just listening to everybody's stories. Everything just points me back to the older ones if I want that connection with the car. But a lot of work goes into keeping up, you know, those older cars. Is there anything else that you're looking to do to this veteran?
Yeah, pretty soon here I am going to make the switch from static ground control to airlift performance. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I got phase one of my build coming up pretty soon here. Just a simple install with the airlift, and followed by a much more significant build in the trunk. Going to be going with a full custom show quality trunk setup, polished hard lines, flow tank, you know, raised wood, you know, trunk base. Integrated sound system, and it's going to be hard not to drive this thing around without the trunk open.
I feel that. And yeah, you mentioned the airlift suspension. Was that decision made by the lip? And how many of those that you said you had to replace?
Yeah, I mean, the last year and a half, I think I've been through 5 or 6 lips driving around. It's pretty low. I actually had to raise it a little while back. Not only did I go through a couple of lips, I also went through a couple oil pans as well.
Oh, geez. Yep. So what's next for you? What taillights can we expect to see gapping us in the future?
You know, I actually just picked up another E30, a 91 sedan, 4-door, same color, surprise, surprise. And mostly looking at just doing a restoration on that one, keeping it simple, clean, and stock OEM.
I think someone has a problem.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an addiction.
it's an addiction to red E30s. Honestly, same. I'm not gonna lie. I'm contemplating picking up an E30 after being in one of these. Funny story is, 5 years ago, went down to San Diego. Guy was selling his for $2,800. If you're watching this, I am so sorry. Had the cash in hand, couldn't commit to it. It was so cheap, but it was quality. Like, I looked at the car, it was fine. The things that I needed to fix, like, it wasn't that big of a deal. $2,800, I could have flipped it if anything. You look a couple years later, that thing shot up to like the same cars, comparable ones that I saw sitting with it when I was looking for that car, like selling for 7 and 8. Easy, nothing done to them.
And that's even going up since then too. I mean, we got about 10 or 12 in the LA area for sale right now, and they're all over 10.
It's crazy. Y'all, if you have the E30, hold on to it, treat it with care. You know, some people say they're money pits, but you're gonna jump into a dune of coins. This is the car if you're looking for that genuine historical BMW feel. Rob, I'm so appreciative of you driving me around and letting me and everybody at home, at their office, in their cars, whatever it may be. Please don't be watching this while you're driving. You can listen to us if you want to give a glance or two. If you have a Tesla, you might be able to get away with looking at it. But either way, thank you for allowing all of these guys and girls the ability to take a look at a remarkable E30.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to share it with the world.
Cool. All right, we could roll these damn windows down. I was dying. You were killing it, man. Whew, jeez. Oh, mine.
You got a
got
just
it.
a little bit of a pressure thing.
Okay.
I don't see nobody around me. Start to see them all come around. If I ever ran into the lottery, heard about a Prince of California, probably ran away from Apollonia. Girls I never seen wanna show me kids. The things you asking for, I am not grown enough. Papa tell me proper how to be. These hoes were never meant for me. Me too when they say they wanna see. So CC me never, I am better overseas, yeah. Oh, no thanks when they come round. Palm in the face when they run out. Caught a glimpse of the light that I shine out. Show me your best side when you talking to me. Show me, show me, show me, show me, show me. Park all my cars in my driveway now, cause I don't want nobody around me. Start to see them all come around. And that bet hit 153. Heard about a list, but bitches ain't shit. Fills up real quick now. Get your mother, brother, sister off my wrist. Oh, no thanks when they come round. Palm in the face when they run out. Caught a glimpse of the light that I shine out. Show me your best side when you talking to me. Show me, show me, show me, show me. Heard about they from my friends, said they dope. New religion, if they blow up, I don't know how they gon' cope. If I do it on my own, will they put me up unknown? If I give a little dimple, will they come for what I own? You get a car, you get a car, you get a home. You not a friend, you just pretend you been a clone. Attack on the whack ones. Put you in the clouds, you better back up. Yeah. Oh, no thanks when they come round. Palm in the face when they run out. Caught a glimpse of the light that I shine out. Glimpse of the light that I shine out. Light that I shine out. Light that I shine out.